Mayfield sang about when he said, people get ready. By love train, what I mean is those who focus on the least of these, those who focus on the poor, on working people, on people who've been degraded, people who have been devalued, people who have been rendered invisible or superfluous or seemingly unnecessary by the powers that be. I'm here first and foremost, not only be part of a conversation, but also to raise money for the Revolutionary Communist Party. Why? Because though I don't fully agree with all of their subtle analysis and various points, they refuse to give up, they refuse to cave in, they refuse to sell out in a society in which everyone is for sale and everything is for sale. Authoritarian crypto-fascist state with the National Defense Authorization Act that can assassinate or detain a citizen with no due process whatsoever. That's already checking your cell phone as you talk, violation of rights and liberties. And if we don't come together in the face of something bigger than ourselves, let alone our individual organizations, we will hang separately. We better hang together. Where is the pastor? So good to see you, my brother. Give this brother another hand. Give him This is brother part of the tradition that produced me, which is the prophetic Christian tradition. I begin on the chocolate side of town. That's all right. But it has something to do with revolutionary Christian practice of a Fannie Lou Hamer, Martin Luther King Jr., and the revolutionary Islamic practice of a Malcolm X, or Lupe Fiasco, or Most Death. We love our agnostic brothers and sisters, our atheistic brothers and sisters, our secular brothers and sisters, our postmodern pagan brothers and sisters. But that's what the love train is about. It's about trying to answer the questions that Du Bois raised when he was 89 years old. There's no greater freedom fighter in many ways than the great W.B. Du Bois. When he was 89 years old, after all of those years, all of those decades, he said, I want to write 3 novels, and he did. He wrote one called The Ordeal of Menzart, another one called Menzart Builds a School, and another one called Worlds of Color in 1957. At 89, page 275 on in that first novel. He said, these are the questions I've been wrestling with all of my life, and I have yet to come up with an adequate answer. The first one is, how shall integrity face oppression? That's that question Brother Carl was talking about in terms of what kind of human being you want to be in your short trek from your mama's womb to tomb. How shall integrity face oppression? The second one was, how shall honesty face deception? How shall decency face insult? How shall virtue meet brute force? Du Bois was speaking on behalf of a great people, of a black people who've been terrorized, traumatized, and stigmatized for 400 years in a land that understands itself to be the moral example of liberty. The height of hypocrisy, the height of misery. And that's the question for us. Who really wants to talk about integrity and honesty and decency and virtue in the face of a culture that is more and more callous toward catastrophe and indifferent toward forms of criminality, especially in high places. And this is one of the reasons why the left movement is so weak and so feeble, and why it's so very important that we come together and have fundraisers. I do the same thing for the Black Agenda Report with Brother Glenn Ford and Bruce Dixon. The same for the Brecht Forum. The same for prophetic synagogues and prophetic mosques and prophetic churches. The same for those street organization. The same for even my revolutionary black nationalist brothers like Lefe Asante and Haki Makabute and Maulana Karenga, who I was with this weekend. They say, Brother West, why are you so jazz-like? Why are you so flexible? Why are you so fluid? It looks like ideological promiscuity. And I say, don't get it twisted. Look at all of those organizations at their best. They're trying to maintain integrity, honesty, decency, and virtue in the face of a civilization, an empire that's more callous to catastrophe and is more indifferent to criminality. I see my dear sister Nellie Bailey out there towering. We need so many more, especially among the younger generation. Brother Carl Dixon's been going at it for decades now, and he can't break dance the way he used to. I think I can, but I'm not sure. We might not be around that long. And of course, these days, anybody who musters the courage to tell the truth about the vicious imperial, capitalist, white supremacist, male supremacist system under which we live, you better be ready to die. These folks will kill you. And that's all right, because that's the kind of fire necessary in order for courage to become more contagious across the board so people can begin to straighten their backs up and wake up and understand the depths of the crisis. In a state of emergency, you need a sense of urgency, and we need a coming together. Where are we going to find the voices to make the connection between Wall Street criminality, market manipulation and insider trading, fraudulent accounting, unbelievable, unaccountable greed running amok for the last 30 years, with now 1% of the population on 42% of the wealth, where the top 400 individuals have wealth equivalent to the bottom 150 million precious brothers and sisters of all colors. Key sweat moment, something just ain't right.
That's right.
Morally obscene and spiritually profane, and it's a sign of an empire in deep decline, a culture in deep decay, and a political system thoroughly dysfunctional as it becomes more and more a site of legalized bribery and normalized corruption, where everyday people, as Sly Stone sang about, feel more helpless, more hopeless. I almost learned helplessness and I learned hopelessness, bombarded every day with a corporate media that generates cultural weapons of mass distraction. And worse, we are witnessing the escalation of complacency, conformity, and cowardice among especially our professional classes. As they become so intoxicated with wealth, power, and status, they become not just thoroughly well-adjusted to injustice and thoroughly well-adapted to indifference, but try to tell young people that the end and aim of life is just to be successful like them. And you lose sight of the great traditions of the past, honed by freedom fighters that put integrity, honesty, decency, and virtue, and service, and sacrifice at the center of our lives. No accident then that Wall Street criminality runs amok, and not one executive of a Wall Street firm is yet to be investigated or prosecuted, but let Jamal and Letitia get caught with a crack bag on the corner, they're going straight to jail. Straight to jail. It's not just an arbitrary rule of law, it's a criminal justice system which itself in many ways is criminal. Where's the moral outrage? Where's the holy anger? Where's the righteous indignation? Or is it that the fire that we once had is
slowly but surely going out. Too many giving up, too many selling out, too many caving in. Who is still going to stand together, not isolated as some messianic individual, but to follow the Negro National Anthem, to lift your every voice, not lift every echo. What we see, of course, television is just echo chambers. Fox News, echo chambers of a vicious, cold-hearted, mean-spirited right wing. MSNBC, an echo chamber of an imperial, class-driven Obama administration. Not among the critical word at all. And yet you get all of these young people being mistreated. 2 generations of precious black brothers and brown brothers, got some white brothers and sisters too, but disproportionately chocolate. 2 generations destroyed by a new Jim Crow that Michelle Alexander's talked about with such insight. A prison industrial complex. Where are the voices? Well, we got few. Do you see any? Mainstream. Do you see any in both parties tied to oligarchic rule? Do you see any in entertainment, the way the Curtis Mayfield, the Gil Scott-Herons, or the Nina Simone, or the Max Roaches, or the Ashley Cleveland used to talk about? There are a few, but not enough. Not enough. And so when we talk about stop and frisk, having the honor to go to jail, what do we tell the young folks? Not just a political issue, even though it was, and we're going to see what the court says now. They're deciding right now, is that right, brother? In the court case? Went to the judge today as to whether it's constitutional or unconstitutional. This brother called me 5 years ago, isolated voice in the wilderness. And I told him on the phone, I said, brother, I am with you because I know your record down through the years, and we're going to tell young folk that we love you, we care for you, and we're willing to go to jail for you. We want to shape your consciousness. We want to show there's some old school brothers and sisters willing to put their bodies on the line, because folks put their bodies on the line for us. We're devious. That's the care better love that the Isley brothers was singing about. And there's not a plaything. Justice is what love looks like in public, just like tenderness is what love feels like in private. Oh, you ready to think about it, didn't you? Try a little. Oh, yes, you got to be a radical for gentleness and a subversive for sweetness and a militant for tenderness, as you are a crusader for justice, because it's tied to that love train. When you get on that train, you're going to find some red brothers and sisters there, some communists there. You're going to find some pink ones there, some socialists there. You're even going to find liberals maybe one day a week. They'll be there. You'll find libertarians there half a day a week concerned with rights and liberty. Right. But the important thing is that what we're up against, the Wall Street criminality on the one hand, the criminality that we're facing poor people, the criminalizing of young people, disproportionately black and brown, and then the imperial criminality. And we can begin with the drone dropping bombs on innocent people. 4,000 of them so far, 221 children, each one of them precious. Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan, they are just as precious as the young white brothers and sisters in Newtown, Connecticut. And we here to say that. Whatever your morality is, I'll say it in the name of Jesus because I'm a Jesus-loving free black man. Others will say it in the name of Allah Muhammad. Some will say it in the name of communism, socialism. Some will say it because the grandmother taught them that. And they believed it. And she was right. The old tradition has a monopoly on the courage, the vision, the willingness to serve, and at the same time, the analysis. Now, I do believe that a dose of vulgar Marxism is always a good place to begin. Because there is such a thing as class struggle. There is such a thing as ruling classes. There is such a thing as hegemony and dominant ideology. There is such a thing as imperialism. There is such a thing as capitalist economies attempting to pursue profit, chasing cheap labor, the race to the bottom, obsessed with always putting profit over people, always putting private gain over a high-quality public life. Oh yeah, that's the backdrop. That's part of the backdrop. But oh, you got vicious male supremacy too. Oh, you got the abusive sisters of all colors. You got insecure male egos that can't take a free sister. You got homophobia too, our precious gay brothers and lesbian sisters and bisexual and transgender. You definitely got a vicious legacy of white supremacy. And believe you me, there will never be fundamental transformation in this country until black rage is channeled to a moral, political, and ideologically progressive venue, because the fundamental threat to the status quo in this nation historically has been young black people straightening their backs up and willing to live and die for a freedom that radically calls into question the status quo of the United States. The class dimension is fundamental, the gender dimension is fundamental, the imperial dimension is fundamental. But the way in which this nation was founded, its emergence and sustenance, so tied to white supremacy that if you don't hit it head on, you can have all the best ideas in the world, and you'll never be able to have the troops in place. And that's one of the reasons why the powers that be don't want black and white and red and yellow people to come together. Just with my dear brother Mumi Abu Jamal on Monday, Brother Chris Hedges and James Combs, we talked for 4 hours. Finally touched my brother, see the sparkle in his eye. Can family finally go soul to soul. And just like this brother, I can discern the Curtis Mayfield in and link to Frederick Douglass, link to Sojourner Truth. Yes, it was all there. We began to sing songs together, just like we sang songs in jail. It's a beautiful moment, because the music is not ornamental, decorative, it's constitutive and integral and elemental for freedom fighters. It constitutes part of revolutionary spirituality. That's why our young people are so confined to such thin music. It's designed that way. Erase their memory, undermine their sense of history. Don't allow them to be connected with those rich roots and sources of empowerment. Let's be very honest about it. I was also blessed to talk to Brother Julian Assange last week in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. He was on the radio show that we had, Smiling West Show last week. And I asked the brother, what keeps you going, Brother Julian? Not only the courage of Brother Bradley Manning and his trial against June the 3rd, in jail now, telling the truth about the CIA. When the tortures themselves go off, he talks about the torture and goes to jail. So much for the 6 uses of the Espionage Act in the last 4.5 years, only used 3 times before that since 1917, under the present administration. Brother Julian, what keeps you going? He said, oh, in the end, it has something to do with Martin Luther King Jr., but not the Martin Luther King Jr. who deodorized every January in celebration. It's something to do with that gut bucket courage, linked to that gut bucket compassion, but a subtle analysis of the militarizing of cyberspace, the militarizing of the hood, the militarizing of so many spheres in our society, tied to the privatizing,
with big money, big banks, big corporations at the top, sucking up profits as wages stagnate, as school systems become more decrepit and are subject to more and more privatizing, with big money people just salivating, can't wait to get to the $1 trillion in the public education system, with hardly a fundamental concern about the future of the young people that they're in. The possibility of an autocratic, authoritarian, crypto-fascist regime so real, when big money, big corporations, pacified populace, criminalized youth, and a thoroughly targeted black, poor, and working class youth, and a black professional class that is in the process of being reniggerized. Money, status, position, but scared, fearful, intimidated, refusing to take a stand for something bigger than their own private gain. That is what niggerization is. Keeping people so afraid, keep them so scared, keep them so intimidated that they always laugh when it ain't funny and scrap when it don't itch and never want to tell the truth. Just wear masks long enough so their careers can flourish, even as their brothers and sisters are being treated like less than